This is Things Police See, First-Hand Accounts, with your host, Steve Gold.
Welcome to the podcast that interviews active and retired police officers, both their most intense, bizarre, and sometimes humorous moments on the job. It is I, old Gingerface. I saved it there. I almost screwed up the intro, but alas, I completed it. So kudos to me. Guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me. As always, so happy to have you. Thank you for a lot of crossover listeners coming over and vice versa for the Sergeant Steve YouTube channel. It's taken off. There's like 55,000 subs there already and more joining every day. I'm really kind of shocked and excited about it. And my favorite comment is when someone comes with a podcast and is like, hey, I was on Sergeant Steve. And then I linked over to your podcast and I love the podcast. So it's actually really working out well. So if you haven't checked out the Sergeant Steve channel, check it out on YouTube, give it a subscribe and a like and all that good stuff. It's basically just me doing body cam breakdowns. I know there's a lot of channels out there like that, but this one happens to be the best one ever invented. So check it out. Thank you for the support on both the projects I have going on right now. I'm excited for the guest today. He's a Western man, might wear a cowboy hat. Not sure. Going to ask him. I don't think he's wearing one right now. I'm looking over at him in the green room. Let's see here. He's an active narcotics agent for the state of Montana. He's got 15 years on the job, past president of the Montana Narcotics Officers Association, founder of Yellowstone Narcotics, a law enforcement training company, and Afghanistan war veteran. Let's bring on the great Cameron Pavlicek.
Yeah, Pavlicek. Yep.
Pavlicek. Damn it. We did so much talking before we came on, and that was like, I got to ask him how to pronounce Pavlicek. Got it. I'll never screw it up again. So, sir.
It's all right.
Thank you for being here, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
It's my pleasure. And you said you checked out the show before and you kind of decided like maybe you'll come on. It wasn't recommended to you or anything?
No, it's actually I kind of felt maybe I didn't really belong here because you've had so many big guests on the show who have done a lot of crazy things in their career. And out here in Montana, it's a little different, slower speed. So my stories might not be as great, but I'll definitely give you some of my best for sure.
Well, brother, I've had Montana guys on before, and I know they have stories. All cops have stories, and the podcast is really—I've said this before, but it was created to have like just us regular cops on to tell, because people are amazed what just the police in their town are doing. Believe me.
Oh, for sure.
You've been to the cookouts when you start talking about a story, and everybody's like, "What?"
Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
I don't want to hear that about my community. Shut your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm pumped you're here. And dude, like I checked out your website and everything. It's really legit. Is that a whole nother side company that you run? I'm guessing you charge and.
Yeah, thanks. It is. So I'm actively working full time, and then my agency we don't get overtime, but we get comp time. So I'll just use my comp time to kind of travel the country and teach. And so we've got 6 courses, soon to be 7. I've got one other instructor currently working for me, and then we're taking on another.
Wow.
Some of our stuff's online. Yeah, some of our stuff's online for like a self-paced virtual option for guys that can't make one of our live trainings. But yeah, it's been going for about 3 years now, and it's been a journey to say the least.
Good for you, man. That's all. You need a side gig, especially where I work is pretty similar. We get comp time and stuff, but there's private details you can do, but there's really kind of no overtime. So they kind of let you flex your hours or build comp time or whatever. Do you know Kenny Williams at all? The Red Ninja there from Instagram?
I'm aware of who Kenny is, and I've seen some of his videos and his social media presence, but I don't know him personally.
You guys should I should link you guys up. You could do like a conference together because he does like literally the same thing, but I think his is yours all about interdiction too?
So we have an interdiction course. It's definitely one of our more popular classes. But the one that I teach that's most popular is Undercover social media. So that's, to make it really short for you, that's basically catfishing criminals online. So how to set up your accounts and do it legally and effectively and not look like a cop online, stuff like that.
Yeah. You got to learn all the lingo.
Yeah. And, for the people listening, it's interesting because about 90% of the time I'm actually portraying a woman. So
So weird.
it has affected the way I text other people. I find myself using more LOLs and emojis, and I'll have to like remind myself to be myself instead of chatting as a woman.
The nails painted emoji.
Yeah. Yep. All that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. I use those anyways, and I don't even pretend I'm a lady online. So it's probably way easier than anybody wants to know about to get people to engage, like perverts.
Oh,
and
man.
stuff.
You have no idea. It's the Wild West online, and the sad reality is, unless you're working ICAC, child crimes, there's really not a whole lot of cops online. They're just not there, and so the people are just overly brazen about what they're doing. So if someone listening hasn't ever used that technique or thought about it, you'll be as busy as you want to be and more, just by opening a couple social media accounts and actually working to engage these guys online.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I know I've known, like, in my area before, in Massachusetts, chiefs that have sent detectives to that, and then the chiefs hated it because it was like all these out of state cases. It was like, you know what, like, you're paid to like patrol this town or city, and like all your cases are like way out of the community. So they were kind of like, to them, it was almost like the chiefs that don't like having a task force guy. They're like, yeah, but at least the task force guys get like forfeitures. You know what I mean? They get the PD money. That I don't think the chiefs really got to get the right guy to really let somebody go wild with that, because it takes up all their time.
Certainly. And you can target people in your community as well. I've heard around the country, some other officers have said, the chiefs don't like it, or the sheriffs don't like it because it brings up our town or our cities or our county's crime stats. But really, that's a statting problem, because I mean, you could separately stat that as cases where the subject came from out of town to your city. So you can have a stat that shows in town or in county crime, and then just create a separate line to show, well, we also did all these cases for people who came into our community that we stopped.
Yeah. So, let me ask you, is there any women? Is there any presence with women doing this? I'm guessing it's very rare, like women being the perpetrator.
Well, so I cover that topic in the class. There is. So I've portrayed both men and women online. And typically what I'll find is I'll get 15 or 20 times more cases as a male versus when I'm a female. But when I do portray a male, 85-90% of the time I'm getting female perpetrators.
Really?
Yes.
And what is their, because a guy is easy to picture. I picture like a guy in sweatpants with like a wispy mustache and like balding on the top in a van with no windows. What are the ladies like? What's the profile for a lady? Is there a profile that they all kind of fit into?
Well, it really depends on the crime that you're investigating. So typically, being a narcotics agent, when I would meet with women from online, they were female drug dealers. So I'm sure you can picture what that looks like. Not so much sex crimes.
I keep thinking you're doing sex crimes because I hear online and I think perverts.
I have done those. We actually, here in Montana, probably about 6 years ago, we have a team that does human trafficking, and that's separate from our narcotics bureau. So those guys are doing specific sex crime stuff, but I've either bumped into it, or before we had that team, I've had some sex crime cases that came from online, but predominantly I'm looking for gun trading, narcotics type cases.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm a little bit slow. You own,
well, like I said, you're not wrong, because even law enforcement, when they hear cops investigating online, their mind automatically thinks sex crimes or crimes against children. But there's a lot more work online than just that. But even law enforcement, when they see this class advertised, they'll ask, "Hey, is this good for ICAC, or is this good for human trafficking?" And it's like, hey, listen, we cover that stuff, but there's a lot more you can do online than just those types of cases.
Yeah, you're right. My mind is so locked in on the child predator thing that it's a great point. Everybody has a phone, and drug dealers are online, obviously,
And I had a class of all game wardens. You'd be surprised on how much illegal fish and game crime is going on online. And typically, if somebody's committing fish and game violations, they're doing it for the notoriety that they get online. So I tell the game wardens, listen, if you're not online, you are missing a ton of criminal activity going on.
Wow, that's crazy, man. But makes sense. I mean, totally makes sense. Everybody's online in every single profession. including all the criminal ones.
Definitely.
Cameron, can you take us back to when you were new on the force, to your first hot call that maybe gave you a little bit of an adrenaline dump?
Going back 15 years when I started in a police department called the Miles City Police Department. They have about 20 officers, and then the city population there is right around 10,000, which for Montana is very typical. That's more typical sized city than, say, a place like Billings where I'm at now, where we have, say, 200,000 people.
Right. Yeah.
I don't remember the first hot call, but I'll tell you, when I think back to that time, the first one that sticks out in my mind.
Yeah.
And so I was working night shift, and we would typically come in at 8:00 at night, and you'd work till sometimes 8 in the morning, 10 or 12-hour shift. And I got lucky on this call because we were doing our shift change when the call came out. So normally on a night shift, we'd have 2 guys, but we had 4 because the night shift is going to replace the morning shift folks. So we had 4 of us, and we're doing our briefing. And a 911 call came in, and the call was relayed to us that a woman was kidnapped and she had escaped, and that her husband was still being held captive by this perpetrator.
Whoa.
And it had happened at her house. And so that's all the information we had. And obviously on our way there, we're trying to get as much as we can, but the caller lost connection with our dispatch. So we get there, and we're told that it's some kind of a hostage kidnap situation. So it's just a couple days before Christmas. I remember we didn't even grab our coats because we just flew out the door. And it's probably like -10. And I just remember that wind. Oh, punishing. It's brutal. And so there's 4 of us, and we end up surrounding the house. Don't see any movement inside. Nobody's coming out. And we kind of get to the point where it's like, okay, we need to go in there. So we go in, and like something out of a bad Hollywood movie, you go in through the front door, and in the kitchen, there's a cellar door to get under the house. And that cellar door is open, and there is blood running down the cellar door.
Whoa.
Yeah. So we clear the whole house, and obviously we're sitting there, and it's a narrow, you almost had to turn sideways to get down there. And we try to throw our flashlight down there because it's just pitch black dark, and just to see if we could see anything. And I just remember my flashlight disappearing into the darkness, and we have no idea what's down there.
So the new guy.
So we go down there. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think I had about a year on at that point, but that's new. So we did go down there, and nobody's there. So we kind of break. The house has been cleared. It should be noted that this house has a big, it probably sits on a few acres, and there's like a lot of RVs there, which we later found out the guy would rent out RV storage space at this house.
Oh, okay.
So all of us, I broke, and I found out where the reporting party was. She was a few houses down, and I went in and talked with her for a little bit. She couldn't give me any information. She basically said, listen, some guy came to our house to look at a camper we had for sale. My husband goes out into the camper to show him, and the guy who was there to buy the camper returned back inside without her husband, and he had blood running down his face. And so she said, what happened? And she said, the guy had said, hey, I hit my face on the corner of the cabinet your husband was showing me. Can you have something I can wash off with? And so she started running warm water onto a rag. And she said, when she turned around, his eyes were just completely black, and she knew something was very bad about to happen. So he started beating her up and tied her up with a belt and threw her into the bottom of the cellar. And he blocked that cellar off with like the door. So he opened a door that you wouldn't be able to pop the cellar door open when it was open.
Right.
But he didn't know about the other entry in the kitchen that they had a rug over. So she stayed down there, and he was basically ransacking the house. She didn't know where her husband was. She heard him leave. She waited 20 minutes to make sure he was gone, and then she escaped out to a neighbor's and called us. So she still didn't know where her husband was.
Whoa, this is so strange.
Yeah. So we asked her, which camper is it? And she didn't know. She's like, listen, my husband, I don't know what camper's what. I just know we were trying to sell one. And they had about 15 campers on the property, and all of them were locked. So we start breaking into these campers one at a time, looking for her husband. And some of these campers are like $250,000 camp. These aren't like a little.
No.
Oh, we were busting into all of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And as luck would have it, the very last one we broke into, her husband was inside, and he had been murdered. He was dead.
Whoa.
And so that was the first homicide that I had ever been a part of. And fast forward, we did catch the guy in Idaho. He had committed another murder there, stealing a car, and ended up confessing to the whole thing once the case was completed. But pretty gruesome. His throat had been cut, and just so you guys know, I had never seen this, but when you have human blood that freezes in sub-zero temperatures, it turns a neon orange color. And
really?
So I had been looking at blood on the stairways in this camper, but it was like a highlighter orange color. So looking back, I didn't know what that was at the time, but that was human blood.
Wow.
Oh, and lastly, the reason why he was bleeding from the face when the suspect went back inside the house is because when he started stabbing her husband, he had a mag light, and he smacked him in the face with it and caused a huge gash across the suspect's face.
Wow, man, that is wild.
Yeah, the whole motive to that was robbery. This older couple was known to keep large sums of money in their house if you had known them, and this suspect was a former tenant of theirs and knew that they would have money. And that was the whole motive for him going over there, pretending to want to buy the camper, basically to do what he did.
Was he a drug addict or something, or just a?
Certainly. Yeah. A lot of our crime out here in Montana is, 80%, 85%. It's centered around drugs at some point, drugs or alcohol.
There's a lot of fentanyl out there, isn't there?
There, up until just about a year or two ago, there was a ton of fentanyl. And for reasons that I'm not quite sure with at this time, our seizures are way down for fentanyl. We're not seeing 10,000, 20,000 pill loads as frequently as we were, say, a year and a half ago.
Probably something about the border and stuff like that, I would imagine.
I'm sure that would be speculation on my part. I think we'll have that answer sooner than later. But I could tell you that the fentanyl seizures across our state are way down.
And then they had that like super fentanyl fentanyl is so strong, and they've been saying that for so long. And then they're like, now I think it starts with a C or something.
Fentanyl.
Yeah, there's this new fentanyl. It's 100 times more powerful than fentanyl. It's like, how could you even use that without killing yourself?
They just have to dilute it so far down into those pills. And people still overdose all the time.
Oh, sure.
I was just talking to a guy this week who overdosed and had to be brought back just 4 days ago.
Damn, man. That story, those stories are so disturbing because it's like the victims are like, they sound so innocent. Like these people that rented a room to them, they're older. I guess at least he just threw the lady downstairs. He didn't murder her too. Silver lining.
Yeah, and oddly enough, he actually gave her a pillow and a blanket down there when he threw her down there.
But no problem snuffing the husband out.
No. And they had a lot of homes. So they had like dozens of rental homes. So he had actually been living in one of the rentals years prior. So.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that's how we knew a little bit. Well, dude, that certainly is intense. That must have been a wild ride you're on the job doing that.
Yeah, that was definitely an eye opener. The rest of the time I had spent on patrol, I never had another homicide in the city limits. We had some interesting deaths and things, but that was my first and only active homicide for working for the city, and it was a crazy time.
They throw the book at that guy.
Yeah, he got life.
Good.
And the thing about Montana is people think, oh, it's pretty sleepy over there compared to your major states, and in a lot of ways it is. But the difference is, say a crime happens in Texas, a murder. Well, that department probably has 20, 30 detectives, so they're set up. So
right.
In Montana, we have all those same crazy crimes happening. They're just less frequently. But when they do happen, we just have a lot less people and resources to deal with them.
Yeah, that makes it tough. It's really tough especially when you're like, it's like anything else, something you do all the time, you get real good at. And then when when you deal with a major crime like that and you have to like mobilize and like it's been months and months, it makes it frustrating. It's like it's a real burden on the department.
Definitely. And then there's a lot less guys for the workload to go around too, so you got a lot fewer people dealing with those types of crimes.
In Montana, does every city and town, no matter the size, investigate their own murders, or does the state or county step in if it's a very small department?
So actually, that's who I work for now, the Montana Division of Criminal Investigation. They are set up as a resource for those smaller agencies. That's pretty much the reason of our existence is when those smaller counties and cities have these things come up, they have someone to call to come in with expertise and equipment and experience to help deal with them.
So they do the investigation parallel with the officer in that or detective in that town or city that's smaller.
Yeah, they'll either parallel it or they'll just hand the whole case over to the state to kind of take over for them.
Yeah.
So
like you said,
it really depends on the department.
You can't blame him if you have like one detective or maybe just a patrol investigator. You take him out, he'll be out of the game forever doing a murder. Now you're down like, depending on the size of your department, you're down a big percentage of manpower.
Right. And realistically, they don't have the experience or the knowledge or know-how to even address some of those types of cases. So it really is in their benefit to call the state, and most departments do. But then you have a few of the smaller departments that probably should call that just choose, hey, we're going to do this in-house. And those are usually the examples we get to see at the academy for what not to do during a homicide investigation.
Yeah. You get that proud chief or sheriff that's like, we're doing it ourselves. Don't need you.
It happens. Exactly. And it does happen, unfortunately. And sometimes they do a good job, but other times, they don't. And it's kind of a problem.
Yeah. In Massachusetts, you can't do that. There's only like 4 or 5 cities that can actually investigate their own homicides. It's like Boston, Springfield, Worcester, Pittsfield. Maybe there's 4, because the DA is the lead on it, and the DA has troopers embedded with them that work homicide, and big drug cases and stuff like that. So we're like, if where I work super small. So if we have something like a murder, then they have no problem like letting an officer be along for the ride, but they're the lead agency. They're talking with the DA the whole time there. And that's just the way it is in Mass. And I think because of what you're saying, low resources and also expertise. I mean, if you have a murder in your town every 15 years, the staff probably has turned over. Like the guy that did the one 15 years ago isn't even there anymore. Now nobody's done one. Like you can't do that when that kind of serious crime comes in, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I would say it's pretty rare for someone to go 15 years, but certainly we have a lot of counties where they might have one murder a year or one every other year. And, that detective might promote. And so you actually end up, a lot of times even their detectives are turning over quite a bit. So they just don't have the experience or the equipment or the know-how or the training. And so it really is a good resource to call in the state. And then they can work at parallel with the state investigators. And that's a great learning opportunity and almost like a training, shadowing opportunity for them to see how these cases are handled.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys come in and like that in the front of your mind, the first thing you don't want to do is be like, this is ours now, you're out. Because that's their biggest fear, that you're going to block them out.
Yeah, totally. And that's a good point you bring up. I mean, I personally, work even in narcotics. I mean, if I get so much as a vehicle that they've seized and they're calling, hey, can you help us write a search warrant for this car and search it and kind of grow the case from there? I'm including them as much as possible until the case leaves their county. And even sometimes then we invite them, hey, if you want to come out and do a buy with us in a neighboring county and your sheriff's good with it, and we'll do that. So yeah, it's very important to keep those guys with you as long as possible and give them that experience and exposure, and then definitely don't make them feel like they gave you their case of the month or whatever, and you just thanks for the case and hung up the phone and they never hear from you again. That's the last thing you want to do.
Right. They want their agency's name in that little paragraph in the newspaper, investigated with, we were there. Yeah, I get it. I have that impulse. Definitely. You know what I mean? I've had a few bigger cases where leaned on the state for help, and I was like, well, I don't want to be cut out of this. keep me involved, keep me updated. You know?
Oh, for sure. And realistically, is we have recruited a lot of county or city guys into the state narcotics because we've worked cases with them in the past and built a relationship and kind of see how those guys were. And so when we have an opening, I mean, we're all racking our brains like, hey, who would be a good fit? So it really is a good recruiting effort too, to kind of work with them and stick with them, through these cases. Cause I can't tell you how many guys, I mean, myself included, that's how I ended up here. Right.
Right.
Was working with the state agency and then kind of learning what they do and finding out, man, I really like this type of work. And we've hired a lot of guys that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure that's great. Cameron, can you tell us your strangest or most bizarre thing you've dealt with?
Oh man, there's a lot. I'll tell you the baby story. So it really wasn't that long ago. It was only a year and a half ago. We had been using an informant to buy meth from a dealer in a neighboring county. And what was interesting is this dealer would move around quite a bit. So sometimes we would travel 2 hours in one or the other direction based on where she wanted to meet that particular day. So we bumped it up to, I think it was an ounce of meth, which an ounce of meth in Montana, I mean, just for the listeners, it's a decent amount of weight here. An ounce goes for, depending on where you are, anywhere at the low end, $500, but on the high end, $1,000. And so we had made a deal to buy an ounce of meth from this woman. And so we send our CI over there, and we had told her ahead of time, listen, if she doesn't have the whole ounce, because we've been doing so many deals with her, go ahead and get whatever you can from her. But if you got to let the money leave for her to go get the rest, that's okay on this particular case. So she gets there, and of course the woman has half of the amount on her and then needs to go get the other half, but needs our money to go get it. But she had her infant daughter with her. So they're communicating, and the dealer takes the money to go get the rest, but gives her baby as collateral to prove that she's going to come back.
Oh my gosh.
So we got half the meth, we gave her all the money, and then she gave us the baby. And the whole time I'm in a kind of a precarious situation because we had no idea that there was going to be a baby involved, or we wouldn't have arranged the deal in the first place. But I've got two options because I'm listening in. Either we take the baby or we don't. But if we let the baby go, we know that baby is going to be brought to another dealer's house and exposed to more
should just
drugs.
Be raised by the cops.
Right. So I don't want to let I don't want the baby, but I also don't want to let it go. So we end up agreeing to take the child, and as soon as she leaves, she's got about an hour drive one way to go get the rest of this meth. And so I meet with the informant and I said, hey, look, we're not going to allow her to come back. We're not going to give her baby back just to get the rest of the meth. Right. So I kind of figured what we'll do is on her way, once we know she has the meth and she's on her way back, we'll just pull her over with a traffic stop and kind of hopefully shield the informant. She thinks it's a normal traffic stop, and then ask her, hey, I see a car seat in the back. Where's your baby? And kind of see if we can take it from there. So that's what we did. And we played it off like, hey, where's your baby? She says she left it with a friend, and okay, well, you're going to be going to jail, and obviously we need to call CPS. So we shielded it off as long as we could. But obviously when she gets charged, she's going to read all this paperwork and she's going to know exactly who the informant was. And unfortunately, that's just what we had to do on that case. So I did take a baby as collateral during a drug case. That was certainly a bizarre. Mm-hmm.
Dude, that is wild. Yeah. Oh my, I would be in a full panic as soon as she left and left that baby there. I'd be like, oh my gosh, guys.
Well, I was kind of panicking during, because I'm like, do I take this baby or do I not? And as soon as I took the baby, I remember I called my boss and everything, and they kind of have a loose idea of what we're up to. And so anytime I'm calling and he's like, oh God, he picked up the phone. He's like, oh, what did you do now? And I said, well, we got a baby, and he's like, what? And so he's kind of like, well, I'm glad you took the baby. I mean, we can't let it go. So.
Yeah, I mean, baseline, she shouldn't have the baby. So, I mean, regardless of how someone else who's responsible gets it, you know what I mean? Like, lady should not have a baby. That's insane.
Yeah, and how many other times has she given up her baby and collateral in the past? And who is she leaving with this child with? Because to be honest with you, it's not like she was best friends with our informant. They didn't know each other on a level you would expect for somebody to leave a baby with. So,
Oh,
what kind of situation is that child being placed in when we're not there?
yeah, that's sad. I mean, how is Montana with I mean, most like DCF or what you were called your agency CPS, they want to reunite the kids with the mom because that's like the best option to rehabilitate the mom and get the kid back there because like becoming a ward of the state is like the worst thing for a kid typically. Do you know, did she ever get this kid back? Did she ever, any of the end story there?
I do. So she did get the kid back. This is one of very few times in my career where uh, the suspect gets clean. So she did get the child back. She did go to treatment. She actually works at a treatment facility now, and so it hasn't
Oh,
been that long.
dude, that's awesome.
We'll see. Yeah, we can hope that it stays that way. I wish her the best. I'm glad it worked
Yeah.
out for her the way that it did.
God bless her.
Yeah, time will tell how that story fully plays out. But she did get her baby back.
Wow, man. That is so far these stories are wild, dude. They are
Oh yeah,
so weird. Damn.
yeah.
Cameron, can you tell us your most intense or terrifying call that you've been on?
Um, I would probably if I wasn't going to give you that first murder case that we already talked about, and just real short, we had a tactical team call out. So I was on the TAC team for 7 years, and basically what that is when one of our narcotic offices had gotten a search warrant for a home and had scored too high on the risk assessment, then the TAC team would come out, and the TAC team was just agents from each office that kind of trained together and prep for these higher risk search warrant cases.
Yep.
And so this particular one was a high risk, and we had briefed for it. And so the plan was, and we do this a lot, where when we have a search warrant in hand, we're going to wait outside the house and we're going to just do surveillance. And when our main target leaves, we're going to have him pulled over outside the house and then serve him with the search warrant. So we had tried that in this case, but it had been 4 or 5 hours. He's not moving. We tried to ruse him out at one point through an informant, asking him to come meet him somewhere. That didn't work. And so we thought, well, I guess we made our best efforts, but at some point the rubber needs to meet the road. So
right.
We go in to hit the house, and the door is barricaded with what we now know is like one of those big Craftsman toolboxes that weigh, 1,000 pounds full of tools. And so he would wheel that in front of his door when he wasn't going to be leaving anytime soon. So we found that out. But as soon as the door was barricaded, he starts screaming, "If you come in here, I'll shoot you." And then he started shooting through the door and wall at us.
Oh, wow.
So that turned into a 36-hour standoff. And we ended up getting multiple SWAT teams there to kind of rotate through, so everybody can do like an 8-hour rotation shift, kind of surrounding this house, trying to, the negotiators calling in, and he actually was responsive on the phone for several hours, just trying to negotiate him out. And we were able to get him to do things like drop some of the guns out of his window. In the early stages, he had his girlfriend that he had taken, quote unquote, hostage in the house. We were able to get him to release her. He asked that he could release his dogs to us. So over a course, we were negotiating the release of weapons and people and animals and trying to get him out. It just, at the end, it didn't go our way. We end up gassing him the next morning or 36 hours later, shooting gas into the house. He didn't come out. So ultimately, we go in there with drones and stuff, and he had killed himself in his basement. And we're not sure at what point he did that, because the night prior he stopped talking with us.
Wow, you sent drones in the house?
Yeah, we do that typically. Even not on the TAC team. I mean, even just our narcotics office anymore. When we kick a door, we don't just go into that house. We fly drones into the house to clear certain areas and kind of pinpoint where he's at.
That's cool.
And maybe we'll slowly kind of take ground and hold it. Based on what our drones are seeing. But more times than not, when somebody's in the home and a drone is like hovering in their face, they just come out. The drones kind of freak them out. Yeah.
Dude, that's weird. So do you wear the goggles or do you look at a screen?
Both. So we have a drone operator. He went through the whole school, which, by the way, he said that was the most intense, difficult school he's ever been through to
Really?
get certified drone. Oh yeah, it's. And we had another guy in our office who began that process and just dropped out. He's like, I can't dedicate the time to this. It's just too
Wow.
much.
I never would have guessed.
Yeah, we'll have our main operator who's wearing the goggles, and then usually the on-scene commander has a screen, and he's also watching. So we have two guys that are kind of viewing and calling out what they're seeing as that drone's going through the house.
That's cool. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's like sending in one of those stupid robot dogs, like, are they ever really going to use those? Those robot dogs, they seem, a drone sounds way better if you can get a hole in the house,
Yeah. And, depending on what type, I think that drone that we use is probably about $1,400 or something. So they're not super
like a DJI or
crazy.
something.
Yeah, they're not super crazy expensive. Some agencies will mandate it's American made, for whatever reason they're worried about kind of being hacked or whatever out of China. And so those drones are those are like the $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 drones, but you can get a drone for a reasonable price. So if there's guys out there that are hitting houses, highly recommend implementing that drone into your process, because it's been more beneficial than I can tell you in an hour program. How many times that drone has really got us out of some tricky situations.
That's sweet. And does it have thermals on it and all that?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. For $1,500?
Yeah, you can get them pretty reasonable. And so we actually have two drones. I should preface that. That thermal drone was probably more, but the one that we use daily, most of our operations are happening during the day. That drone was like $1,200 to $1,500, but the thermal ones are definitely going to cost more. But we don't typically use that one daily like we do the cheaper version.
That's cool. Yeah, I bought one years ago. I bought a DJI Phantom. I remember one year I got like a pretty good tax return, and I was like newly married. I'm like, what if we get this drone? I mean, because the drones were new, and there was like a few YouTube videos of this Phantom going straight up like into cloud cover. Like this thing at a mile. I still have it actually. It's sitting right next to me. I haven't flown it in probably 3 years. But dude, even that one, like it's, I don't know, 13 years old now, and it will hover like GPS tethered. And if you pull on it, it will snap right back to its GPS point. I mean, and it's got the little gimbal camera on it. It's kind of big and wonky. Like the new ones are like really awesome, like looking, but yeah, dude, it's still amazing. I just kind of stopped flying it because, first, like second year I owned it, I had to get it like serialized, or like I had to like register it with the FAA or whoever. And then like 6 months later, every time I put it up, all these warnings came up. It was like, there's an airport here. There's this going on here. There's that there. Don't go over 500 feet. I'm like, this isn't that fun anymore. Cause like number one, it's registered with the federal government. So if it hits something, God forbid, it's right back on. They're going to have the GPS location. They're going to have where I was. I'm like, all of a sudden the risk was like, well, cause I would put that drone up because I lived on Cape Cod at the time. It's a peninsula out in the water, if you don't know it. And you could go up like 600 feet and see the Atlantic Ocean, Cape Cod Bay. And then I could fly that almost to either coast just from my yard. Like it was,
yeah, that's crazy.
It was sick. And it was 1080p. So that it was pretty good video, and it was stabilized. Even if it was windy, it was smooth video. And I was posting videos of them. People were like, what the hell is that? I'm like, it's the freaking $1,200 drone I bought. And everybody's like, what are you, nuts? But now they have the goggles. All right, I'm going way off subject. Now they have the goggled ones, and I've seen the guys racing them like through the warehouses and stuff.
Oh, wow.
Have you seen that? Like the pro drone
I have not
sports?
seen that. Oh,
right.
That's crazy though.
I'm going to end my nerding
awesome.
out right here. No, it's sick. These drones are going like 70, and they're going through like windows and portals in the ceiling. And
that'd be cool to watch.
Yeah, it's friggin' nuts. Sorry, Cameron.
Oh no, you're good. Yeah. So just again, that drone, every house we hit, whether it's TAC team or not, we're bringing that drone. And
yeah, that's cool. It's a great idea.
Super good tool for those guys that are hitting houses out there.
I'm not on a TAC team or a SWAT team, so maybe they are doing that around here. I only, where I am now, I've only worked them one time, and it was a state guys, and they did not have a drone, but it was like a certain kind of warrant. So I don't know, they would need one. Cameron, I'm curious to ask you, could you just briefly like what does it look like when you're online to make a narcotics case come together? Like, do you have one in your mind that was like pretty simple and like kind of has all the elements to it? Like, cause I just want to know, I think people would be curious to hear, like, how do you make that happen?
It's a heck of a lot easier than I'd like to admit. Typically, I mean, don't get me wrong. There are some cases in there that have gotten tricky, and those are the ones I cover in my class. But a real simple example for you is you'll go on a social media site, and there's a bunch, and depending on where you're at, some platforms are more popular than others. But you know, I've gone on Tinder, I've gone on Facebook, I've gone on Meet Me, Kick, Telegram. I mean, you name it. But typically, I'll go on and I'll create a profile, and that profile, if you look at it, and you're a person who recreates with illegal drugs, you would see things on my profile that you recognize to be that type of activity.
Okay.
So I'm putting things on my profile that allude that I am a drug user.
I like drugs.
And so, yep. Yeah, well, it's a fine line because you don't want to look like a cop either. You know, you don't. Hey, does anybody have any methamphetamines for sale?
Yeah,
you know,
I'm a fan of narcotics.
Yes. So you're setting up your account, and if you're doing it properly, these people will come to you. And I mean, literally, I've had people. Their first message to me is, "I have the best meth in town," and I'll say, "Prove it." I'll say, "Prove it," and they'll say, "Okay, I bet. Where do you want to meet?" So, well, what are your prices? And then, right then, bing, bang, boom, we've made a deal to go to Walmart and get meth from this guy. And then as soon as he pulls in, you know, we're pulling him over. And whether I tell him that he's part of a narcotics thing or not, that's kind of case specific. But in its most simplest form, I'll approach the car and I'll say, "Hey, you haven't been talking to Jessica, you've been talking to me. And I've got all the chat transcripts and I know you got meth in the car. So your options now are either, you know, you want to cooperate and you want to have a discussion with us, or you don't. And, you know, what happens to you, you know, best of luck to you. You're going to get a felony charge and quite possibly go to jail today." So kind of just goes from there.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. And then obviously we're going to flip that guy if we can, and we're going to work that case up, and he'll either sign up as he'll sign up as an informant, or he'll introduce one of our guys to his dealer or what have you. And we'll just kind of grow the case from there.
Dude, that's brilliant. I love that. That's so cool.
Yeah. Super simple. I mean, if we're bored and it's a Monday, me and a buddy will just say, "Oh, let's see who can get the first guy." And, you know, usually by noon we've got one lined up and we go get him.
Wow. And I'm sure on these profiles you can put you put where you live. So it kind of solves the whole distance issue. Like, it's got to be local. Right. Yeah.
And yeah, for sure. And sometimes we meet guys that are 3 hours away, and I've done this for 10 years now. So I'll know certain counties that like to take these cases. And so it's like, okay, well, let's meet halfway and I'll meet you over in this place. And so we'll troll them into that county or whatever. So, or, you know, worst case scenario, I've done this for other states. Like I had a guy in South Dakota who was a motorcycle gang member, and he was dealing in a small town. And, I could have probably gotten him over here, but instead I just passed it over to South Dakota. I've lined guys up in parking lots in other states, and I'm not even there. You know, they do I'm on the phone with, or I'm texting the suspect, and I'm on the phone with South Dakota, and I say, "Okay, he's going to be showing up in a blue Jeep over at Walmart." And they're like, "Okay, we're set up. There he is." And they pull him over, and then they take the case. I never even have to go over there.
That's cool, man. That's really neat. I bet your classes are fascinating.
Yeah, I think, you know, certainly it's 2 days, and I'd say it's probably 75% training value and 25% comedy. So there's a lot of good stories and just weird. Yeah. I keep them entertained, but
you got to know how to talk to cops.
Oh, for sure.
Because they're a hard audience, man.
And, you know, there's always one or two that kind of doze off and start falling asleep. So I know it's time for a break, but typically, you know, that's a popular class because it's a unutilized tactic. It's interesting. And honestly, it's not hard. It's relatively easy and quick to sting these guys. I mean, the days of going into a bar on a Harley and buying meth at the bar, that's not how it works anymore. I mean, sure, you can do that. Don't get me wrong. We still do some of that. But if you took a team of 10 guys and put them on Harleys to go out to the bars, and then you put me online, I'll put that team under the bus.
Yeah. But it's so cool to go into the bar and like have beers when you're working.
Well, you know, there's a whole culture behind some of that stuff. And don't get me wrong. We are still doing that. And I'm not advocating against that. I'm just saying you can get a lot more and further and bigger cases typically going online than you can by these, these cold hits in the bars or whatever, typically. So I'm not saying don't do it, but the times have changed. I mean, you talk to dealers, ask how many times they're going into a bar and doing a deal versus how many times they're going on social media and doing a deal, and they'll tell you.
Yeah, it just makes sense. Everything is online now. We have to adapt and take it to where they are. That's awesome, man. Cameron, do you have in the front of your mind, do you have a positive, or dare I say heartwarming situation from your career?
This next story does fit into that category, but it also fits into maybe of the bizarre. So I think we can kind of cover both of those topics. Okay. So this was back when I was actually a patrol officer again in Miles City. And for the smaller agencies, these guys can relate to this story. When dispatch takes a call and there's 2 guys or 3 guys, they'll pick and choose who they want to send to what. And so I was always bringing in donuts to dispatch and having coffee with them, and I took care of our dispatchers. So
smart.
They would, So I had a good relationship with them, but they got a little sick humor on giving me the weird stuff. So I wouldn't take the barking dog calls because they normally wouldn't send me to that, but they would send me to the weird stuff. And so this was a weird one. The call came in that a guy had gotten off the bus. And so Miles City, that's a lot of our weird stuff there came from the bus stop, because if you're going from Portland to Minneapolis, you're going to stop in Miles City.
Okay.
And these people are interesting to say the least.
I'm sure.
So a guy had gotten off the bus and just kind of took off running. He had this idea that the Hells Angels were following him on the bus trying to kill him. And so the bus took off without him. So he calls 911 and he's hiding in a dumpster at a gas station. So the call came out, hey, this guy's saying that some motorcycle gangs are chasing him, trying to kill him. I'm like, okay, here we go again. Get down there. The guy crawls out of the dumpster. And I say, have a conversation with him. He's telling me he's been on the run from these guys for a week, and they got him pinned down here, and he needs to get out of there, and he needs help. And so I basically just said, hey, I'm not saying that your story's, I'm not saying I don't believe you, but just out of curiosity, are you on any kind of medications? And he says, yeah. I said, have you been taking them? And he says, well, no, I don't. I stopped 2 months ago. I don't need them. I said, okay, well, I'll tell you what, how about we do this? How about I take you down to the hospital and we'll get you your medication re-prescribed, and just in case it is your mind playing games. And while you're there, I'm going to investigate, and if these guys are in town, trust me, I'm going to find them, and I'm going to take care of it. We're going to get them. Right. So he says, okay, that sounds like a deal. So I'm going to look for the bad guys and you're going to go to the hospital, and between the 2 of us, we're going to solve this problem. Yeah. So he says, that sounds great, Cam. But can I get my statue? And I said, well, what statue are you talking about? He goes, I got this statue. It's in the dumpster. I said, okay. So yeah, no problem. So what he proceeds to pull out is 100-pound sculptured state of California. And it's like articulately 3D stick welded, and it's got these gold rivets for every city, and it's got the rivers ingrained. And depending on the angle you look, I got a picture. If you want a good picture for this show, I'll send you a picture of me holding this thing.
Yeah.
Depending on the angle, it would like turn gold or purple, and it was kind of translucent in color. So I said, where the heck did you get that? Because it weighs 100 pounds, and he's been carrying this thing on the bus for thousands of miles.
Right.
And he says, I traded 3 rookie baseball cards for that on the bus. And so if you're thinking what I'm thinking, like, this thing's stolen. There's no way that this schizophrenic homeless man has this. And I'm looking at this. I don't know what it's worth, but it's looking expensive. Like, this is a piece of art.
Yeah.
And so so he could tell I was very suspicious. And he says, look, and he pulls out a notarized, signed bill of sale for this thing.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. So he knew, acquiring it, in my mind, that it was probably stolen, which is why he went through the effort to get the notarized bill of sale. So he showed me a notarized, legit, signed bill of sale. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll tell you what, leave this, do me a favor. I'll hold on to the statue while you go to the hospital, so you're not carrying this whole thing around. And by the way, it's probably about midnight at this point.
Okay.
So I drop him off at the hospital. I've got the statute. And the whole time he's in there, I'm trying to research the crap out of this thing. It's got an artist's name written on the base of it. And it's a very unique last name, like Z's and I's and U's, and it's about 20 characters long. And so the closest I could get was I found some form of relative on Facebook, and I instantly send them a message like, hey, I've got a piece of art that's obviously created by somebody in your family, but I can't prove it's stolen. The guy has a bill of sale for it, but I know this piece of art is stolen. I feel it in my gut. There's no way that this guy naturally has this piece of art.
Right.
They don't message me back, and my time's up. So I got to go pick this guy up at the hospital, and he's going to have me drop him off at a friend's house, and he's on the bus the next day. And so I'm like, what am I going to do? So I said, where are you taking this? Where are you heading? And he says, I'm going to Moscow, Idaho. I said, you're going to carry this thing all the way down there with you? I said, that's gotta be a pain. He says, well, actually, I'm trying to sell it. And I said, well, what are you looking to get out of it? And he says, 2,000. I said, 2,000. Come on, man. Be reasonable here. You're in Miles City at midnight. I can't give you $2,000 for this thing. So we make a deal for $500. And so I had called my chief and I said, look, chief, this thing's stolen. This thing's worth thousands of dollars. I can't prove it, but I don't want to let this thing go with this schizophrenic guy. There's more to this. So he says, Cam, if you want to buy that thing, that's on you. I said, okay. So I bought it for $500. I went and got a bill of sale notarized, by the way. I took his strategy just to show. And I remember walking into the police department. Again, it's shift change in the morning, and everybody's laughing at me. They're making, I can't believe you paid $500 for that scrap metal. And I'm like, you goof. You wouldn't know art if it hit you in the face, because this, trust me, this is not a $500
This is big
item.
money, baby.
Yeah. So lo and behold, I get a phone call a week later, and it's from the artist. And he says, okay, you've got California. And I'm telling him the story, and he cuts me off as soon as he hears I bought it, because he's thinking it's gone. But I told him I bought. He says, how much did you pay for that? And this is back in 2013, probably. And so I said, I paid $500. He says, you know what, Cam? I sell those for $14,000. And if I had that piece with me today, I wouldn't even sell it for that. Wow. So he says, he tells me it was stolen. He was apprenticing someone how to do this art. Lo and behold, a welder is into meth. Well, that apprentice breaks into his shop and steals 2 pieces and is gone. And he says, I never reported it for 2 reasons. 1, even though this guy burglarized my shop, I considered him a friend. And 2, what's the point? This guy was from Arkansas, and I never would see him or that piece again, and I never reported it. You know, and granted, I skipped that part of the story. At some point, I do identify where this guy lives, and I called that department and ran his name to see if any reports had been made of any stolen property or anything, and there was nothing. There was an ambulance call. That was the only thing he had attached to his name.
Wow.
And the phone number they had for him was disconnected, so I couldn't get a hold of him. So he says, keep it for a year or so, and if you don't hear from me, you know, you got a really good piece that you could sell easily. And about a year and a half, by the way, my wife was pissed because every time we moved or did anything, I had to move this thing, and it was sitting in our living room because this thing stands. What a story,
though, it goes with it.
This thing stands about 4 feet tall. I mean, we had nowhere to even put this thing, and so it was always in my living room, and everybody's like, "What the heck is that?" And it's like, it's a long story. I don't want to get into it, but his son, a year and a half later, was in the Air Force, and his gift to his dad was to get the statue back. And so he came down, he actually paid me back, which, you know, I told him you don't have to do, but I am out $500 because you guys never reported this, but you know, I want to get it back to you. So they wanted to pay me back for what I had spent to get it back to them. So they gave me the $500, and the piece went, and it went with a copy of my report. And I never heard from them again.
Really? The guy never gave you a call, huh?
And I don't want to be petty, but the guy never even said thank you.
Wow. People are weird.
I've talked to my friends about this too. And I think a lot of the public, they don't really understand, like, in their mind, when they call the police, it's going to resolve one way or the other. They don't realize that depending on who takes that call is going to greatly affect the outcome, whether your stuff's returned, whether it's found, whether
Right.
it's investigated. You know, it's like, if you could just call a plumber out of the phone book, you don't really necessarily know the quality of that. And it's the same with policemen. I mean, it's luck of the draw who's going to show up to that and how that's going to resolve. But I think the public just kind of expects that they don't think about the actual individual who's showing up is going to determine the outcome of what happens.
Yeah, you could get the 25-year disgruntled patrolman who's like about to retire, and he's like, doesn't even ask him about it. Whatever, bring it with you.
100%, who doesn't even file a report. But in their mind, they just think, hey, I called the police, so it's either going to get done or they're not going to be able to. But they don't realize that that individual is going to have a huge impact on the outcome of that case.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, that's a wild story too. That's so cool.
Yeah, so I owned a piece of it, and I'll send you a photo of it so you guys can see this piece. And
yeah.
You know.
Do you have a picture of it on your phone?
I do.
Can you send it to me and I'll put it on the screen right now?
Yeah.
Unless it's going to screw up our internet connection.
No, I'm just got to reach over and grab my phone. That's charging, and I'll send it to you right now.
Sweet. I want to put this thing up there. Oh, you have Android though, right?
I do.
Oh yeah, send it to my email. I can put it up.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
I feel like it's cruel to have this really awesome story about this weird thing that's hard to even imagine and not show everybody. We've got to show them. Absolutely.
Yeah, and when they see it, they'll understand why my wife was like, what in the heck are you doing this time, you know, because I brought it home. And I had to tell her the whole story. She thought I was insane too.
What did this guy make every state?
You know, depends on the client. This is something you'd expect to see. Like I've seen his work at a bank, at a Wells Fargo. They bought a big one. But like governors will hire this guy to make them stuff. And by the way, I think he's passed away now because he's about 85, and that was, you know, going back over 10 years ago. So
probably pretty eccentric dude. So like the no thank you and all that is probably just, you can probably just blame it on that. Let me see. Oh, come on. I'm waiting for it to come in. I just have all of our messages from when we weren't able to connect.
You know, you should, you know, that would bore your audience, but that was quite the story in and of itself, you know.
Cam, well, do you mind if I mention it? Tell them what happened?
No, go for it. No, go ahead.
So we're trying to hook up. The camera is black, but the audio is good. And he figures out that the camera just went on his laptop, and he's like, screw it, I'll go buy a new computer right now. I'm like, no, what? Don't buy a new computer. So we postponed the interview for a couple hours. He went, got a new laptop, set it up, and here we are. And of course we have a connection issue. So the friggin' thing keeps getting blurry. But which email did you send? You sent it to Things Please See?
The one that we were sending all those messages on earlier.
Okay. Come on. Sometimes I hate technology. Just get the new mail.
Do you want me to send it? What's a new email? I'll send it to another one too.
That's all right. I don't want to say it out loud.
Okay.
I'd like to keep everything for the show into this one email, but it will come up. I have one more question for you anyways. When it comes up, I'll show everybody the California. Popular question on the show. Advice to new police officers, especially in the climate now, people getting into police work, maybe backgrounds. They listen to your story, they listen to people's stories that come on here, and like you guys literally inspire them some of them to actually do the job, which is fantastic, which is the best outcome or product the show could produce as new cops. So what would you tell these people delving into law enforcement for the first time?
So I've actually got a couple things that I would say to them. The first thing is, it's personally, they need to set up a deferred comp or a 401k. They need to start stacking some of their money into those programs. And if you do it at the beginning, you never notice that it's missing. And if you try to do it later, you've already missed out on 10, 15 years of good interest. And absolutely. So the very first thing that they need to do when they walk in the door and they start getting all the paperwork about their retirement is they need to put, 5-10% of their salary in that deferred comp.
Absolutely.
The second thing personally that I would recommend that these people do is they need to start going to the gym, especially if you're going to work in a patrol environment where people are going to be sizing you up multiple times a day. I can't tell you how many fights I didn't have because I was in good shape. And make no mistake, when you're dealing with criminals all day, every day, you're being sized up whether you realize it or not. And so just by being in better physical condition is going to keep you from all kinds of bad situations. Just the fact that you're going to the gym, and it's good for your mental health. It's good for your physical health. You're going to be sitting in a patrol car for hours a day, and you need to get in the habit of taking care of your physical body.
Absolutely.
That would be my personal advice to them. For their career advice, there's a couple things I'd also mention. I think law enforcement has a habit of waiting for somebody to show them how to do something. And that's okay when you're at the academy, and that's okay when you're being an FTO. But I've seen guys come out of FTO, they're 4-year officers, and they'll encounter something that they don't know how to deal with. And so they'll try and either avoid it or ignore it, or they'll ask around to try and figure out how to do it. But typically, we're seeing technology change. I talk a lot about Cash App in my investigations, and a lot of guys don't even know what that is. And you're already 6 years behind the curve.
Right.
But when you're doing these cases and you encounter something you don't understand, I highly encourage them to just take the time and learn how to do it. Learn that technology, or learn how to write a different type of warrant, or don't wait for somebody to show you how to do things, because oddly enough, the people who are your supervisors, if it's something new, they don't know how to do it. So take that upon yourself, and really, even though it's uncomfortable and it's a lot more work, learn how to do that. And lastly, I'll end on advice. You're not going to be a cop forever. So learn a skill, or take something away from this job that you can take once you retire. I don't care if that's your experience, or dealing with technology, or investigations that you've had, or try and parlay this career into the next. And just keep in the back of your mind, it might feel like forever, but man, I'm here to tell you, I'm retiring in 4 years, and it feels like I just started last month.
Wow. Good for you, man. Yeah, I have just 20 years in the retirement system now, but the way mass, that was before I say this, that was excellent advice. All of it. I loved it. But in mass, 20 years gets you 50%, but you have to be 55 to collect it. So
our state just went to that, but I'm grandfathered in. It's 20 years. We can draw day one, and it doesn't matter how old you are. So I'm leaving on my 20th year date. I'm going to find, I don't know if I'm going to go to law school or if I'm going to stack pallets at Costco, but either way, I'm out of here, So.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And I talk with cops for this all the time in real life and on the show. And it's like these 20, 25 years deals and out that are all going away. Believe it or not, I'm grandfathered into the old system. I have a sweet deal compared to what the new people have. They've made it worse. Now it's like, I think the age is like 62, 32 years. Like, you have these old men being cops to get 80%. It's nuts. And it's a young man's game. It's like it's the kind of job, it's high stress. Doesn't matter where you work. You're going to have way too many adrenaline dumps. Like, it cores out your body. You should be able to do it for 20 years and then like have a good chunk of change coming in. Maybe you can't live off it, but enough to start another career and buy you a little time. Now it's like if I left at 20 and collected right away, I would get like 34%. Mm-hmm. So I would have to find something to do for 9 years.
Definitely. And all the more reason for that 401k. I mean, I've used that so many times for leverage, and I mean, imagine a lot of these guys, they want to be entrepreneurs when they leave law enforcement. They want to work for themselves. They don't want to deal with people anymore.
Yep.
You'll have a nest egg for all the money you're going to need to start whatever business you need from that deferred comp. So it really is just a iron horse strategy, do the deferred comp, take care of your body, and just realize along the way, you're not going to be doing this job forever. If you're lucky, you'll make it to 20 years.
Right. Absolutely. Great advice, brother. Thank you for that. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the state of California. It is pretty nice. I can see what you mean about it's got that purpley, silver, gold, whatever meteorite, whatever it is.
Yeah, definitely. And the photo really doesn't do that thing justice. I think that probably weighed about 100 pounds. And if you were there looking at it, the rivers are etched and engraved into the sculpture, and every city has a gold marker, and it's really intricate. But you can kind of see the base gold color of that, and the purplish metallic look as you change the angle. And so it really was quite the piece.
It's so funny too. This guy's just traveling public transit with it. Every single person that looked at him was probably like, stolen. there's no reason for this guy to have this.
The guy's a schizophrenic too, so I don't think anybody really wanted to stare at him too long because he was
question
an
him.
interesting guy.
Draw his ire.
Definitely not.
It's like riding the subway in New York City. You just look straight ahead. Do not look at anybody.
100%. So yeah, he ended up there in small town Montana, and that's what we were able to get off of him that particular day. Love
it. Brother, tell me about the company and how people can hire you and get at you, reach out to you.
Yeah, definitely. So it's YellowstoneNarcotics.com is our main website. So there's a few ways you can look on there and see what classes we currently have posted. But if you would like to host a course, guys think that hosting actually costs money, but it doesn't. It's free. So if you wanted to bring any of our courses to your agency, it's free. You get two free seats to host us. All we need is a classroom and something that I could plug a laptop into with internet. And you can kind of pick from whichever course you want. There's 6 courses on there to choose from. Everything from interdiction, which again, I don't teach that one. Barry Capello with our highway interdiction team teaches that class. Very, very great, specifically for states that are not a border state and don't have a port or some kind of beautiful fishing hole where they're getting 20 pounds, every week out of. This is set up for rural places or counties, kind of like Montana, where, hey, I don't have a border state or some crazy point of entry or anything, but I've got an interstate. And so how are we running interdiction on those? So we teach that. Undercover social media. We've got a class for technology. How do you write a warrant to Uber Eats? Everything. How do I write a phone ping warrant and trackers and just anything involving technology is covered in that course. We got a child endangerment course, investigate asset forfeiture is another big one. I pull over a guy, he's got $25,000, but there's no dope. What do I do? Well, 90% of that time, that money is forfeitable, and we're teaching you all the strategies, tricks, and methods on how to prove that money is illegal.
Very cool.
So just lots of different courses and topics. But yeah, the easiest way is to jump onto our website. My email's on there if you guys want to call or email me and just have a conversation. And if not, we've got 2 courses online. That's www.virtual.yellowstonenarcotics.com. And that's our online courses. And so those are self-paced. You can take them an hour at a time. You can sit down and do all 15 hours in one sitting if you want. And all those are professionally recorded live courses that we've put into a online format. So it's the exact same course that we teach in person. It's just recorded from a live class.
That's very cool. That's awesome, man. Good for you. I can see what your year 21 will look like now. You got something set up here.
Yeah. And, I might do the training thing. I love training. I love hearing the stories of what guys have been able to take down. I mean, there was a department in Ohio that they sent 2 guys to my class and they opened up a wing of detectives that do nothing but social media now.
Wow.
Because they saw how crazy it was. Yeah. If anybody listening, if you were to go online, I don't care where you are, you will have 100 people message you within the hour, and 10 of those people are definitely drug dealers, gun traffickers, illegal criminal people committing crimes online within the first hour.
That's nuts, man. That's so cool. Classes look awesome, brother. It was an honor to have you on, dude. The stories were they were gold, man. So I don't know what you were talking about. They were great, dude.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, hey, I appreciate you having me on the show. I love to see the episodes and the guests that you have on, and I greatly appreciate anybody listening to the show and taking the time to hear us out for an hour. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. Do you have to take off to scoot home, or can you hang out for like 2 minutes?
No, I can hang out.
All right. I'm just going to do the outro. All right, guys. That was a fun interview. Really, really fun story. So glad Cam decided to come on. Thank you to him. Absolute honor to have him. This is a time in the show when I thank the Patreon sponsors. There's a link in the show notes. If you really love the show and you want to help support, there's monthly subscriptions I have to pay and website fees, and sometimes equipment breaks. I have to replace that. So you just kind of help support the show. And there's a few shekels left over for old Gingerface to go buy some tacos with, because he's a taco dumpster. Guys, who I'm talking about, if you click on the Patreon and you choose Sergeant or above for rank, you will get a shout out on the show. Starting with the lieutenants, who I'm talking about is the great and powerful Andy Biggs. Kyle Roberts, everybody. Love you, Kyle. Michael Roach from Roach Machines AI Solutions. Check him out. The handsome Lane Campbell. Thank you, sir. Gary Steiner. Adam Mihal. Seth Wright. Lauren Stimson. Jason Lau. Sasha McNabb. Sean Clifford. Tammy Walsh, everybody. The great George Tessier. Dennis Carrasquillo, thank you. Scott Young. Dan Carlson from Burley Boards. Check him out online. Amazing woodworker. Doug and Kelly Newman out in Wyoming. I love you guys. Raymond Arsenal. Love you, buddy. See you at church. Richard Tolles. Keep on trucking, brother. Stay safe out there. Elliot Sykes, everybody. Brad Thompson, my man. Big Bear Investigations. Love me some Brad Thompson. Clark LaCoff, everybody. Adam McMahon. Thank you, sir. Sheriff Ronald Long. Thank you, brother. Zachary Pleat, everybody. Jason Labrie, come on. Lisa Gano, thank you. Sherry Finch, thank you, madame. Gabriel, the great Gabriel Decknop, thank you. Eric Smith, thank you, sir. Jackson Dalton, Black Box Safety, thank you. The great Marcus Johansson, Canine Extraordinaire, thank you, sir. Brett Lee, everybody. Cale Oswald, and the great, venerable, and handsome Alex Wasik. Thank you guys for the support. You know I appreciate it. It's awesome. Every time I see a little email or message that I got a new Patreon supporter, it makes my whole friggin' day. So I appreciate it. Thank you. And I love you guys, and I'll see you next week.